Today is Friday, November the 17th, 2023, and welcome to episode 70 of Rural Reliance with the Canny Couple. I'm Julia.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are a small homestead family that focus on being less dependent on outside sources around us while also merging frugality and homesteading together to build the life that we want, where we're as dependent on ourselves as much as possible.
Yeah, and today is a great topic in those regards. We're going to talk about the importance of self-reliance.
Absolutely. And we're not just focusing on it as a prepping standpoint, which is incredibly important. Incredibly. But there's also a few other things you need to take into consideration and think about. Self-reliance is important for every household. Every single household. And this is a two-part series. So today we're talking about the importance of self-reliance. Next week, we're going to talk about merging frugality and self-reliance and how frugality is actually a principle of self-reliance in all reality. It is for us. But every household should have some sort of ability to manage and maintain for whatever period of time. I don't care if you're not a prepper, if you live in the city, wherever you are, you need to be able to take care of you and your family for a limited period of time, whatever that period may be. Your periods might be different from ours.
Right. Yeah, this is going to depend on your basic necessities that you need.
Absolutely. What you want from life, how you want to live your life, all of these things. So what's important to you is going to be very different from what's important to us. Now, you're never going, it's very difficult.
To be 100%.
Very difficult. You have to think about it this way. Even if you get to where you're fully off grid, you have no need for anything, you still have one thing you have to do. That's pay taxes. So you still have to have money. So you are still reliant on a system of supply and demand, not just for items, but for cash to pay your taxes.
Unfortunately, that's in today's society it is. And, let's say you have a bad crop year. You need seeds for next year. Where are you getting those seeds? Are you ordering them? Do you have a neighbor? You've got to, plan for future issues.
Absolutely. So we focus on our homestead on a little bit every day. We are not talking like a 1% change. We're talking like 0.0001.
Yeah.
We put up an extra jug of water this day. That is a step in the right direction. We did, something else. Like Aaron got the solar set up. That's a really big step in the right direction.
Put up a jar of apples.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Absolutely. This is a step of, okay, my working pantry is still being well built, well stocked. I have this food that we're going to eat this year. I don't have to rely on the grocery store for this food. I already have it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dehydrating food, anything like that. That's all part of self-reliance. And while some days it doesn't feel like we make any traction at all, there are other days where we feel like we make a lot of traction and we really start to get ahead. We have even wanted to take it a step further with our water, because water's a big thing for us.
We don't have a running... We do have a stream, but it's not really accessible.
Easily.
So
getting water there and getting water back out.
One trip you're going to be dead tired if you're walking it.
Yeah. And just getting it, how much would you actually get out?
Yeah.
So for us, especially last year, it really showed us the importance of having a way to wash clothes outside, having a way to wash dishes, and also for showers and things like that, because we had to rely on other things or we didn't have water. There were times where it was more the water than it was the power.
Yeah,
last year. The power we're used to. But when it's every other day, you can't use water and the necessity that water is on your life. It's not that we didn't have our preps in place, because we did. It just showed us the importance of how we need to expand those preps.
Exactly, because, we had some water storage we could filter a little bit more if we wanted to. Or, we actually went to like this spring and filled up some extra water. So, we didn't have to use some of our stockpile there too.
Absolutely. So we'll never get all the way there, but our goal is to get as close as we can and to always make strides towards it, because we know that in the way society is built today, you can't get all the way. You can't. We're stuck.
Not in the United States.
No. Not here. Everybody has property taxes if you own your own land.
You might be able to be lucky enough somewhere in Alaska that nobody knows about where you're at or something, but that would be it.
So I would say the biggest thing for self-reliance that we have seen in the past few years is supply chain issues. So this is so important when it comes to your food.
Well, not even food, like some of your basic necessities even.
Toilet paper.
Well, let's say convenience necessities.
Yes.
Stuff like that where you've grown so accustomed to it that you think you need it. Stuff like that, because supply chains disrupted from pandemic, disrupted from just supply chain issues. Anything.
What about was there like a wreck or something,
the cargo ship that got stuck there at the
canal?
The canal, yeah. So I mean, anything like that, just keep slowing stuff down. You can't expect to have, let's say, rice tomorrow at the grocery store available. Could be a week or two.
So you want to make sure whatever your magic number is under the median. Actually just had a video on this. They said their number before used to be 3 to 4 months. Now it's 5 to 6.
Yeah.
For us, we kind of feel like we're in an area where we felt a lot of these issues, right? I mean, we saw the lack of several items, not all of them.
We saw it, but it didn't impact us per se.
Some of them did. The eggs.
Eggs did at the time.
Eggs did at the time. You were very limited, and we couldn't get any eggs if we could find them during 2020. And there were a few other things, but for the most part, because I like to be very well stocked, we didn't feel it as bad as others.
She's a prepper at heart.
Well, yes, I am. I like to have a well-stocked pantry and a well-stocked working household. I have the room. I'm not in a limited space. I'm not 200 square feet. I have the space. And to me, if I have the space and I'm catching these things on sale, I'm getting them at a very good price, I need to stock up while it's a really good price now versus paying the exorbitant price is going to be when you can hardly get them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how we kind of looked at this. And we really focus. Well, I have really focused because he would be my denier.
I know.
He was like, we have enough. We have enough. We have enough. Like, no, it's on sale. We're getting it. And then after all the craziness of...
I don't say anything anymore. Whatever feeling she gets, it's been right lately.
So, I have an intuition. But supply chain issues are things that everybody was seeing, everybody was feeling. And it seems like there's a cycle. It's still happening for certain items. It's like one day it will be some crazy obscure item. Then the next day it's hamburger meat or something like that. It seems like it's rolling on these cycles and it's being very continuous, and we're not seeing an end to it. Like, we never saw these issues until 3 years ago.
The U.S. didn't used to rely on so many other countries to supply us.
Exactly.
We used to do most of the supplying for ourselves and maybe other countries. So now when we're relying on outside sources, per se, U.S. is not as self-reliant as it used to be.
No, which makes it even more important for you to be able to take care of your family. And we're just talking... supply chain issues. You need to have your basic necessities on hand. What do you need to make it through whatever time frame you feel is important for you to have, especially food, the basics, whatever that is. If it's nothing more than rice, then you can jazz up rice however you would like. whatever you can do, because you can get a 20-pound bag of rice for $10 at Walmart.
Yeah.
At least that's what it was a couple weeks ago. I mean, that's it's not the best deal. That is still a very good deal. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I don't need that much rice. Well, you should always have one of those bags. Rice doesn't go bad. White rice does not go bad. It stays good for a really, really long time. If you don't need it in 5 years, use that bag of rice and replace it.
Exactly.
And you could put it in a bucket. I mean, it really doesn't take up that much room. And it's such a good thing to have. You can use it for breakfast. You can make like a sweet congee. You can have it for lunch, dinner. It will fill you up. You're going to get tired of it. You're going to get bored. But you do have options. So just, if you do nothing more, get something you and your family will eat to help for food. What other things do you think they need to have on hand? I would also say like vinegar.
Vinegar is an extremely, I feel like, important one to have on hand, just because from a canning, preserving perspective, and if you need to clean something,
or kill weeds around your property.
I mean, it's got so many uses. Vinegar is like a multi-purpose item that I feel,
basic medical supplies.
Yes, you need those, because if nothing else, there is definitely not as many people coming as quickly as they used to out for incidents per se. Maybe if you're in a large town, you haven't seen a drop in time or anything like that, but otherwise you do need something to keep infections out or anything like that, so you don't have to go to a doctor or be as not self-sufficient enough.
Gauzes, wraps, those are super cheap. They're super cheap.
Yeah.
You can get sterile gauzes on Amazon. One box has like 20 or 30 in it. Just do your price checking, and the sterile ones, they come like individually packaged. You can also get a wound care spray that I can tell you, for us, we've never had it before.
That's been a really good one.
That's been a game changer for us. It helps heal so fast, and we just looked for a really good one that we were comfortable using, that had, Aaron's a review junkie.
Yes. And I know, so many reviews are fake anymore too, but
he will go through.
You sort of got to
know what to look for.
Filter through what sounds fake and what actually sounds like somebody's used.
So things like that are super basic, but when you need them and you can't find them, and you have, not a cut that might need to go to the doctor unless it gets infected or something like that, especially if you're doing homesteading jobs, because typically it means we're going to be getting dirty, we're working in the dirt, you're sweating.
Yeah.
It happens. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten cut by fencing. I mean, it just happens. It's just part of this lifestyle, and you're going to get little wounds, and to be able to quickly take care of those and manage those on your own without them getting bad is very helpful, and to help them heal faster. So supply line issues, just a few basic things you need to have in your preps and be more self-sufficient on. Not the really big major things, but just a lot of the little ones. I would say having a level of self-reliance also creates freedom.
Yes, because then you're not relying on all that. You're not relying on, let's say, city for water. You're not relying on
power
company for power. Not relying on grocery stores for groceries. You could keep going on and on. The more systems you set up for yourself, the less stuff you have to rely on anybody else for.
Our wood stove is a wonderful example. We have a fireplace. We've talked about this before. It's not very efficient. It doesn't heat very well, which is fine. It's still functional, and if we had to, we can use it. Yeah. But we put a wood stove in our home, and a lot of people would be like, well, where do you get the wood? We got lots of property.
Yeah.
But we got lots of trees and woods around us. So that's where we'll get our wood. So for us, the wood stove was so much more practical versus a gas stove.
Yes, because, you know, I mean, if times got bad, go cut down neighbor's tree, you know.
If all of ours are gone.
I mean, just saying. It would take a long time for that to happen, but, you know, if you had to, it ain't as easy to go out and, you know, siphon gas out of, you know, a neighbor's truck down the road, you know, when times are bad, you know. That wouldn't heat long. So, I mean, you have a harder time finding gas than wood, let's say that.
Well, and not only that, it's an extra expense for us. A lot of people, not so much. That's their preferred method, their way to go.
True.
But for us, because of where we live, and this is the other thing you have to take into consideration when you're building your preps, you're building your systems. What works for you in your situation? This works really well for us. We have so many trees. We have so many fallen trees. It's going to take us years to get those cleared up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out west, you know, for example, you don't have those trees, you know, unless you planted them. You might actually have a better chance finding an oil well than a tree, you know. So
it just creates a sense of freedom. When we got this in, I think a weight lifted off both of our chests because we had been waiting for this forever.
Yeah.
We hadn't planned on putting a wood burning stove in our home, in our living room. That wasn't in the cards or anything we had thought of. But after we had that one time when we lost power for so long and we were relying on that fireplace, we looked at each other. We're like, we have to find another option for us. Okay. This is not sustainable, especially if it's a long time. In our power company, we've noticed that it's going to keep getting longer and longer.
And I don't know if that's because of worker shortages,
maintenance,
or supply chain issues,
or both.
Right, for the parts, you know.
So it could be either or at this point, and we love having that prep. It does create a sense of freedom. If our power goes off, our refrigerator and freezers can be ran off of solar. That is the goal. Even if I have to run an extension cord out the door, my refrigerator can be ran off of solar. I don't rely on gas. All I have to do is rely on the sun. Now, yes, I'm relying on the sun, but the sun's much more reliable than our power company. I mean, I'm just going to put that out there. It comes up and down every day. It might not give a whole lot of rays and a whole lot of energy that day, but it will sometime, like it usually does within a few days. And we're actually in less of a cloudy time frame and have been for a while. We've been more into a more sunnier, dry time frame. So it's just a sense of freedom you can't get over. Options. I love options. I have to think, to me, homesteading is all about creating options. And your self-reliance should not just be, oh, my powers went out. Oh, all this stuff has happened. There's so many other things you need to be prepared for. What if I lost my job?
Exactly. What if
he has emergency surgery?
Yep. What if I'm down for weeks, months, or years? What if I die? You know? Things like that. You've got to prepare, you know, have your preps, have your self-reliance in place so that you can, you know, have everything you need.
And we won't lie to you. We won't tell you we're perfect in all these areas because we're not. This is an area Aaron and I are woefully behind on. And not so much that if he were to pass away, it's more that if I were to pass away. Because we have been shifting more to whole ingredients, whole foods. It would be very... If I go down, Aaron would have a harder time.
I would have to learn how to can and preserve food myself, which, you know, I've seen you do it, but
he's never done it.
I've never done it, right. Or
if I'm even down from a hospital visit or something like that, it would be very hard for him to take all the food that Scratch made, because I'm trying to fill our cabinets up with whole ingredients, not processed foods, and I've been getting them on a really good price. he has a bag of flours of sugar. He doesn't know what to do with a bag of flours of sugar. It's a pumpkin. He's like, okay, what do I do here? So this is an area where we know in the next couple of months we really have to get prepared. If Arian goes down, I can manage. It's not going to be perfect, but we've built our processes up well enough that I can manage. Mm-hmm. We've got the dog food, like a 50-pound bag. Yes, it has to be carried up the hill, but that it always stays full.
I mean, we have sleds and stuff.
We have sleds, and I can pull
stuff around on the property due to weight for that reason, and then if you had to, you could always scoop it out,
I would. I mean, we've planned for a lot of these items and sort of made it so a lot of these things for me, but as we have been growing and really focusing on this, we've realized that we kind of forgot. If I go down,
baby might not like A1 sandwiches.
I don't think so. You can give her a piece of cheese. She will eat sliced cheese, but that will be that sliced cheese and pretzels. But it's just one of those things you have to think about. Having those preps in place, having those lack of dependencies creates options for you. You lose your job. So now you need to cut your power bill. Now you need to try not to use so much water. You are going bare bones budget.
Yeah.
If you are on a city water budget or something like that.
That doesn't change. You've got that basic monthly fee.
So you can use your self-reliance preps to kind of help try to cut some of your costs.
Yeah.
And keep your costs down as low as possible. I mean, that sounds crazy and like something a lot of people want to think about, but it's so important. It is so important, especially if you have a decent emergency fund to kind of help hold and tide you over. If you can get your prices cut down super small and your costs cut super small, you can make that money go as long as possible while you're trying to find another job if you are working away from the home. It's just so important. A loss of income destroys families. It really does.
It makes it impossible to get you into debt and stuff like that, which, you got to prepare for stuff like this. You got to have your self-reliance built up to expect the unexpected.
And food. You got that 20-pound bag of rice. Guess what? We're having some rice.
Yep.
We're going to empty out the cabinets till there's nothing else there. I mean, that's just what it would be. I mean, you get through it, and if you have that in place because you've built it over the years and you've grown in your own self-reliance, you're dependent on yourself for most of this. Like, I am dependent on myself. If I don't have to get it every single week from the grocery store, I can get it once a year from the grocery store because I focus on getting it when I need, having it on hand at all times. It gives you options. The other thing to think about is weather. This is a really big thing for Aaron. He's always focused on this, and I will say he's really turned me to look here.
Yeah, because you don't know what type of natural disaster is going to come about, whether it's snowstorm, flooding, tornadoes, even lately, if you lived in Iceland, magma, I mean, you don't know. There is, you got to prepare your self-reliance on anything. I know floods. Hey, you need to make sure you have a little shelter at the top of a hill if you've got a hill, that's where you go when it floods.
You have buckets that you can get up there.
Yeah.
Pull you. Say you're not able to carry these up. Create a pole and pulley system to pull them up. I mean, Aaron, I
was going to talk about my great aunt there. That's what I was thinking too. Anytime it was about to flood, she would start packing up trash bags with what she needed and go to the top of the hill.
In the middle of a storm and stay there the entire night because she experienced a really severe flood.
Yep.
And she knew what that would do.
Yeah.
She knew what it would do. And the entire community, it took out a whole community basically.
Yeah.
The entire community was really basically destroyed. Now the town's still there. There's still people that live there, but it's,
You know,
you're not building nothing new over there.
yeah, the government even came in and said you couldn't build nothing new after it was that bad. So,
And we have seen it come up, and there have been like sudden rains, like we thought we weren't going to get through because we had to go past those roads. So it can happen, and you need to be aware. Again, this is all location based.
it is. You got to think about, your location. What's your most things? You might not have snowstorms. You might
Have
live,
severe heat.
yeah. That, hey,
Severe heat can be just as bad as freezing to death.
yeah.
I mean, it is. You can have a heat stroke.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear about that all the time, especially when you can't afford to pay for an air conditioner.
Right. I mean, you got to think about ways to keep yourself cool. Then, that'd be your self-reliance preps there, is to, have some sort of backup small AC unit or something,
I would say that's an area where Aaron and I really focused this year. And we found we were able to manage and maintain our home during the hottest parts of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had an unusually cool start to the summer that helped. But even when it got really hot, we managed to maintain.
Yeah. We didn't turn the air on this year.
Not for anything more than a few hours.
A few hours, 2 days or something.
So we were really, really proud of us for that, because we learned to manage with how to open the windows, when to close the windows, using the air conditioners, also the little window fan, which I have to say is probably one of the best things we bought all last year. We'll be getting another 1 or 2 of those for next year for sure, because they did such a good job. They did such a good job to cool off the house, those areas.
Pretty amazing, a window fan there.
And it uses so little energy. You could probably run one of those off of a little
solar battery pack.
I mean, in the evening, you can get your house super cool. It's all about knowing your area, what your area and you need, and building your preps around that. For us, it's a little harder because our weather can be anything.
We can have 100-degree days. We can have 0-degree days,
Or negatives.
Negatives, yeah. And we've had tornadoes in the area. We've had, flooding, I guess, would be one that's not as bad for us. If we wanted to get out, it would be more.
We wouldn't have a flood here because we're up on a mountain, so it'd be very hard it would have to be, we're talking Noah's Ark.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, it'd be Ark times.
We'd be building an ark with all these trees out in the back. It'd take that long to get the water up to us, but it's just something that, we're constantly, wind is a thing for us. Wind is a huge thing for us. Wind takes down buildings here.
Yeah.
Like without any, took down a barn, right?
Yep.
We have had an old barn it just took down. And so we put up any buildings, anything like that, we have to make sure they are anchored deeply and heavily into the ground. I mean, it's so important for us. Anything we do that we think can get some air, because wind, I'd say wind is probably one of our biggest weather issues.
Probably so for us, because the wind takes out the power a lot of times as well. So
yeah, it's more wind than anything else.
I would agree with that.
You have anything else?
You got to think about like we said, the unexpected, self-reliance. What if a real pandemic starts, what if, other things like that come into play, hey, let's say another world war or something, supply chains are definitely cutting those times. Where's your favorite candy come from? If it comes from Europe and Europe's in a war or something, then you ain't getting that candy.
Well, you're getting me some more Alpine chocolate for our preps.
Hey, Alpine chocolate is really good.
He's only ever had a bite of it.
I get it for her. But, you got to think about things like that, that can disrupt your normal day to day. What do you want to be self-reliant in? Hey, maybe I don't need, um, let's say, dog food. Let's say I can feed the animals, chicken feed or something that you've got, anything like that. You got to think about what are you willing to sacrifice, to get as close as you can to self-reliance. You're going to have some of those other things you have backup plans for, just because, you might get 90% self-reliant, you might get 80%, but what are you going to do for those other, 10 to 15% of times when you do need something else?
I would say you want to make sure that those things that you cannot cut ties to, that you want to try to minimize your absolute necessities to those things as much as possible. So like if you're reliant on your phone, if you are addicted to your phone, you need to cut that. Or things like that. Those things that have today become necessities that really aren't necessities.
More of luxury items.
Yes, and that's the problem with the world today. We have lost focus on what is a luxury versus what is actually needed to breathe and live every single day.
Yeah, that's extremely true because, you don't, your phone, your TV,
A ham radio will communicate to the outside world, and it does not take any. You just keep it charged up, and it doesn't take.
Well, or you have a, you run that off your battery system too. It depends what type you've got there. If you need to talk to someone, you might not need to talk to anyone. I could be fine with that.
An emergency radio.
Yeah.
To hear outside communications.
So emergency radio is a good one, though, to have self-reliant, because most of them have the ham radio weather stations built into them. Yeah. So you can get your weather. It's got shortwave usually on them. You can get some shortwave stations, and you have your local FM, AM stations if you just need to get local news or hear some music, let's say.
That's what we did when we lost power.
We listened to radio, but most of them now, they do have crank abilities. They have rechargeable batteries.
They have a light.
They have lights. You can,
and they're tiny.
They're tiny. There's so many good uses. Everybody should have a little emergency radio.
Absolutely. These are just small things that you need to really be thinking about. And if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I can't live without my phone. You need to go to a place where you lose cell signal.
Yeah.
Because you need to learn to live without that phone. And you don't, you could do, if things get that bad, it can happen. Now, we're not saying it is. We have no idea what the world holds in store for us. We're just saying, for us personally, we know what it's like to not be able to contact anybody for days on end. Like you're holding your phone, trying to get a text out to your family to say, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay. We're not dead. We're alive.
Don't send out the dogs for search and rescue,
It's because we live in an area where this is everyday life. It's not, because what was it your friend said? They're like, well, they're really hardcore preppers or something. They're like, we live out on the ridge. You have to be a prepper.
Yeah, you got to be prepared for multiple days without power, water, blocked roads. You can't get out.
This is so normal for us every day that people look at us like we're nuts sometimes. Yeah. And we're okay with that. We've kind of gotten used to that look. But it also has created a sense of freedom that when these things happen, our world really doesn't change for the most part.
No.
Actually, those times that a lot of this stuff happens means that's like a vacation time. I can sleep.
That-
We can read, get some rest.
we probably honestly do sleep more during that time.
So we get the necessities done, the basics, and then you don't have so much of this extra stuff to focus. And I think a lot of our outside world really clouds what is actually needed to survive. So you need to really, really narrow down your focus. What do I need to make it through the day? This is self-reliance at its very, very core.
Yeah, and maybe it's make it through the day and, have something that keeps you occupied too. Whether that's books,
coloring books,
whether that's, some tools and some wood to woodwork or something, anything like that.
Knitting, yarn.
Exactly.
Things like this. These are things that don't require power, electricity. They just require your hands, your eyes. Things like that.
Look back, hey, look back at some of the things they used to do,
Cross stitching.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can think of so many things. Embroidery. Any of those things are just very well. These are more female things. I don't know the things like Aaron's thing.
I don't think I'd be able to do any of those just because I never tried.
But they're just things that will keep you distracted. Well, not really distracted. They're things to take your mind off the fact that you don't have the phone to look at all the time. You don't have to live with TV on.
Right.
But it's the world we live in today. We're so materialistic and so focused on social media and all of this other stuff that we don't know how to make it without it. So
that's true.
That's the importance of self-reliance. Taking care of you and your family for whatever amount of time you need to be able to take care of without any outside help.
And determine that amount of time, whether you determine it right now and say it's 2 months, 1 month, sit down, 6 months from now and see if that's still true.
And start building towards it. Don't just go like, oh, wait, no, I'm not self-reliant at all. I need to get 6 months worth of... No.
No. Work your way there slowly.
Work your way. You need, take $5, take $10, whatever your grocery budget will allow.
Yep. Hey, go get some bags of beans,
And you can still get them pretty good. I mean, we were able to get them for 88 cents a pound. I feel like it's an amazing deal. When I see that, I tell her to get a whole $10 worth of beans because that's a really good deal for us. It's about as cheap as I can find them.
Any other final thoughts?
No, I would just say that the main focus here is to just really narrow down and learn what is self-reliance to you, what it means to you. For us, it means to be less, more dependent on ourselves. But what does it mean to you? It could mean anything. It's how you define your own self-reliance. That's important.
For me, I would say think about the unexpected, what could occur in the area. And let's say you just moved to a new place that, you don't know anything about. Hey, go look at the historical records, look at old newspapers, look for natural disasters that have occurred in that area in the past and be like, okay, flood hits here every 10 years, let's say, I need to be prepared to not be able to get to that town, stuff like that. That's stuff that you can, easily research and find out.
Or talk to your older neighbors, go to a nursing home.
Yeah.
Those people are lonely. They want to talk to somebody.
Yeah, they'll tell you of all the crazy stuff that's happened,
Now take some of it with a grain of salt. But you know how it goes. Oh.
Well, if you got anything you want to hear in future episode, anything you want to send comment-wise over, send that over to thecannycouple@yahoo.com or leave it below in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube.
And
go over check out our link tree, which has all of our other content. And
as always, thank you for joining us on Rural Reliance with the Canny Couple, where we work hard, live simple, and enjoy life. Have a wonderful day.